What happens when a docile creature is released into the harshest environment on the planet? The Arctic is not a place meant for living. It is a frozen battlefield where nature shows no mercy, not even for the smallest mistake. Temperatures can plunge below 40 degrees Celsius, a level of cold so brutal that a moment of hesitation can cost a life. Food remains scarce for 8 to 9 months of the year, the ground locked solid like steel, vegetation buried beneath thick layers of snow, and no tall trees offer real shelter or safety. Here, the rule is simple and unforgiving. The strong survive, the slow quietly vanish from the ecosystem as if they never existed. Yet the paradox is that even top predators at the peak of the food chain never breathe easily. They must keep moving through blinding snowstorms, tracking the faintest traces, spending every precious bit of energy just to secure a single meal that might keep them alive for a few more days. One slip, one failed hunt, or one night of relentless wind can push them toward death by hunger or cold. The Arctic is not truly a habitat. It is an endless survival exam, where each sunrise is a reward granted only to those who did not fall during the night. In one of the most unforgiving places on Earth, where temperatures plunge far below zero and survival itself is a daily challenge, a quiet empire endures. It has no walls, no weapons, no armies marching across frozen land. Yet year after year, it survives where many larger, stronger animals fail. This empire belongs to the Arctic hare. At first glance, it doesn't look like a ruler of anything. Weighing only 3 to 7 kilograms, it appears small, fragile, almost insignificant against the vast white landscape of the Arctic. But appearances here are deceiving. Every part of this animal's body has been shaped by evolution to solve one problem above all else: how to stay alive in a world that constantly tries to kill you. The Arctic hare's fur is one of its most important survival tools. In winter, when the land disappears beneath endless snow, its coat turns pure white, allowing it to vanish almost completely into the environment. Predators can look straight at it and see nothing but ice and wind. When summer briefly arrives and the snow melts away, that same fur shifts to brown and gray, blending seamlessly with exposed rock and frozen soil. This change isn't cosmetic, it's camouflage at the highest level, refined over thousands of years. In the Arctic, being seen often means being hunted, and being hunted usually means being killed. Its ears, shorter than those of rabbits living in warmer climates, may seem like a minor detail, but they are another crucial adaptation. Long ears lose heat quickly. Shorter ears conserve warmth, reducing energy loss in an environment where calories are precious and cold is relentless. Every gram of retained heat increases the chance of surviving another night. Here, biology isn't about comfort or efficiency, it's about endurance. Then there are the legs. Powerful, muscular, built like natural springs. On open snowfields, the Arctic hare can reach speeds of up to 60 kilometers per hour. That speed isn't used to hunt or dominate. It exists for one reason only: escape. When a fox breaks from cover, when a wolf locks onto movement, when a shadow passes overhead, there is no fight. There is only flight. A split-second decision, a burst of speed, and the difference between life and death. The Arctic hare has no claws, no fangs, no armor. Instead, its greatest weapon is adaptation. It survives on food that many animals cannot use: woody plants, frozen roots, dry vegetation buried beneath snow. Its digestive system extracts energy from scarcity. Its behavior minimizes risk. Its body wastes nothing. This animal doesn't conquer the Arctic through strength. It survives by fitting into it perfectly. This is not an empire built on dominance. It is an empire built on balance. Quiet, almost invisible, yet remarkably resilient. In a land defined by extremes, the Arctic hare stands as proof that survival does not always belong to the biggest or the fiercest, but to those best adapted to the world they inhabit. In the Arctic, survival is never a solo effort for long. While the Arctic hare does not live under kings, leaders, or rigid hierarchies, its world is far from chaotic. There is order here, an unspoken structure shaped not by rules or authority, but by the constant pressure to stay alive. It's a system written by cold, hunger, and the ever-present threat of predators. During the long winter months, when temperatures plummet and the wind cuts across the open land without mercy, Arctic hares often gather in groups that can number in the dozens. At first glance, it might look like social behavior, even companionship. But this is not about friendship. It is about physics, biology, and survival. Huddling together reduces heat loss. Each body becomes part of a living shield against the cold, lowering the energy each individual must spend just to maintain its core temperature. In a place where food is scarce and calories are hard-earned, saving energy can mean the difference between life and death. Every bit of warmth shared inside the group is another step towards surviving the winter night. But warmth is only part of the reason these animals cluster together. There is safety in numbers. With more eyes scanning the horizon, the chances of spotting a predator increase. A fox approaching from a distance, a wolf moving across the snow, or the silent glide of an owl overhead, early detection can buy precious seconds. And in the Arctic, seconds are everything. Within these groups, a subtle structure emerges. Stronger, more resilient individuals often end up on the outer edges, exposed to the harshest winds and the greatest risk of being targeted first if a predator attacks. Weaker or younger individuals are more likely to remain closer to the center, where the group provides more protection and warmth. This arrangement isn't decided through dominance displays or conscious choice. It forms naturally, driven by instinct and physical capability. The result, however, resembles a strategic defensive formation. It may seem almost compassionate, as if the strong are protecting the weak. But in reality, this is not an act of kindness. It is an evolutionary strategy that benefits the survival of the population as a whole. By increasing the chances that younger and more vulnerable hares live through the winter, the group helps ensure that the next generation will carry on. Even the exposed individuals on the edges are not acting out of sacrifice. They are simply fulfilling roles their bodies and instincts make possible. This is the social system of the Arctic hare: flexible, silent, and efficient. No leaders, no commands. Just a structure shaped by the relentless demands of the environment. In this frozen world, society is not built on cooperation for comfort, but on cooperation for continuation. Survival here is not personal. It is collective, instinctive, and unforgiving. In the Arctic, power does not come from size, aggression, or dominance. It comes from a single achievement: surviving the winter. For the Arctic hare, authority is measured not by territory claimed or rivals defeated, but by endurance, by lasting through months of cold, darkness, and scarcity that would break most other animals. Every day is defined by work, and that work begins with one essential task: finding food in a world that seems almost empty. The land is locked beneath layers of snow and ice. What little vegetation exists is buried, frozen, or stripped bare by wind. To eat, the Arctic hare must dig. Using its strong forelimbs and sharp claws, it scrapes through snowdrifts, uncovering whatever lies below. Sometimes it finds dry grasses preserved beneath the cold. Other times, it uncovers roots, frozen but still holding traces of energy. Mosses and lichens, plants so small and slow-growing they are often overlooked, become valuable resources. These are not rich meals. They are survival rations, just enough to keep the body running in a place that constantly drains energy. When vegetation is scarce, the hare turns to woody plants. It gnaws on bark hardened by ice, chewing through fibers that most animals cannot digest efficiently. Its digestive system is adapted to extract nutrients from this low-quality food, turning scarcity into sustenance. In the Arctic, the ability to use what others ignore is a form of power. It allows the hare to occupy a part of the food web where competition is lower, where survival depends less on fighting and more on persistence. Movement is another form of labor. Remaining still for too long in extreme cold can be deadly. The Arctic hare must keep moving, walking, digging, shifting positions to maintain circulation and body heat. Every step costs energy, yet staying still can cost more. This constant balancing act defines its daily existence. Spend calories to stay warm, but conserve enough to survive until the next meal. There are no days off, no periods of abundance long enough to relax. Life is a continuous negotiation with the environment. This is the Arctic hare's system of power and work. It does not command others or control territory. Instead, it masters efficiency. It survives by operating at the very bottom of the Arctic food chain, feeding on resources most animals pass over. By doing so, it avoids direct competition with larger herbivores and reduces its reliance on seasonal abundance. Its strength lies in using the leftovers of the ecosystem, the overlooked, the underestimated. In this frozen world, labor is not about building or creating, it is about maintaining existence. one mouthful, one step, one day at a time. The Arctic hare proves that in the harshest environments, real power is not the ability to dominate, but the ability to endure. In the Arctic, war is constant, but it makes no sound. There are no explosions, no battle lines drawn across maps, no flags raised over captured ground. Yet conflict is everywhere, woven into the wind, hidden in drifting snow, carried in every shadow that moves across the ice. For the Arctic hare, life is defined by a silent war, fought not with weapons, but with awareness, speed, and the fragile advantage of not being seen. Its enemies come from every direction. The Arctic fox is patient, light on its feet, built for the same frozen terrain. It can follow scent trails across snow and ice, closing the distance slowly, carefully, waiting for the moment the hare makes a mistake. Wolves are fewer, but far more powerful. A wolf pack moving through open tundra turns the landscape into a killing ground, capable of covering long distances with relentless stamina. From above, the snowy owl watches in near total silence, its white feathers blending with the sky and land alike. It sees movement from far away, its attacks sudden and precise. Even the polar bear, though not a dedicated hunter of hares, can become a deadly threat when opportunity presents itself. In a place where food is never guaranteed, almost any predator may take the chance. And then there is the cold itself, the most consistent and unforgiving enemy of all. Unlike foxes or wolves, the cold does not need to chase. It is always present, draining heat, slowing muscles, turning exhaustion into danger. A hare weakened by hunger or slowed by injury becomes more visible, more vulnerable. The environment itself works alongside the predators, ensuring that only the fittest, fastest individuals remain. For the Arctic hare, being detected almost always triggers a life-or-death chase. There is no defense, no counterattack. It cannot fight off a wolf or outmatch the talons of an owl. Its survival strategy depends on two things: camouflage and speed. Camouflage buys time, the few seconds in which a predator might look but fail to see. Its white winter coat or brown summer fur helps it dissolve into the background, turning stillness into a shield. But once movement betrays its position, the second strategy takes over. Its powerful hind legs launch it into motion, covering ground in explosive bursts. It runs in long, bounding strides, zigzagging across uneven snow to break a predator's line of sight. Every turn is instinctive, every leap calculated by generations of evolutionary trial and error. Some escapes succeed, others do not. In this silent war, there are no victories, only temporary survival. This is combat in its most elemental form. No glory, no mercy. Just the endless contest between hunter and hunted, played out across a frozen battlefield where the cost of losing is absolute. Every empire has a darker side, and for the Arctic hare, it begins at birth. Life enters the world in one of the harshest environments on Earth, where cold is not a seasonal inconvenience, but a constant, lethal presence. Leverets are born into a landscape where temperatures can plunge far below freezing, and shelter is little more than shallow depressions in the ground or brief protection behind rocks and snowdrifts. From their first breath, survival is uncertain. Many young hares never make it through their first weeks. Exposure, starvation, and predators all take their toll, and the mortality rate is high. In the Arctic, nature does not promise fairness, only opportunity, and even that is limited. Those that do survive face a life under constant pressure. Predators are not occasional threats, they are a daily reality. Arctic foxes patrol the tundra with sharp senses and tireless persistence. Wolves can sweep across open ground with speed and coordination. Snowy owls watch from above, their silent flight giving little warning. Even when no predator is visible, the possibility is always there. This unending risk shapes behavior. Arctic hares remain alert, quick to freeze, quicker to run. Their bodies are built for bursts of speed, but their nervous systems are tuned for vigilance. Living in this state of perpetual awareness carries a cost. Energy is spent not only on movement and warmth, but on readiness, on being prepared to flee at any moment. When a group of hares is targeted, the dynamics of survival become even more stark. A sudden charge by a fox or the shadow of an owl can send the group scattering in all directions. In those chaotic seconds, differences in strength, health, and speed matter. There is almost always one individual, slightly slower, slightly weaker, slightly less fortunate. That individual is more likely to be caught. In effect, it becomes a biological shield, its loss increasing the chances that others escape. There is no decision, no intention, no act of heroism. It is the brutal mathematics of predation. These losses go unmarked. There are no rituals, no memory, no recognition. Yet each life that ends in this way plays a role in maintaining the population. Predators are fed, their pressure on the group momentarily reduced. The survivors carry on, reproduce, and the cycle continues. This is the hidden cost of endurance in the Arctic. Survival at the level of the species often comes at the expense of individuals. The dark side of this empire is not cruelty, but necessity. In a land defined by scarcity and cold, life persists not because every individual survives, but because enough do. In the Arctic, predators are not the only threat. Nature itself can turn hostile without warning, and often does. Blizzards sweep across the tundra with little notice, burying the land beneath fresh layers of snow and ice. For the Arctic hare, these storms don't just bring cold, they erase access to food. Grasses, mosses, and woody plants disappear under hard-packed drifts, forcing the hare to dig deeper and expend precious energy just to find a few mouthfuls of nutrition. Every scrape of the paw costs calories. Every failed attempt brings it closer to exhaustion. When storms linger, hunger becomes as dangerous as any predator. The ground, too, can become an enemy. As temperatures plunge, the soil freezes solid, turning the earth into something closer to stone. Roots that might otherwise be reachable become locked away beneath layers of ice. Even a well-adapted animal like the Arctic hare can struggle under these conditions. Its survival strategy depends on access to low, scattered vegetation. But when the land itself hardens beyond reach, its options shrink dramatically. In these moments, the environment doesn't just challenge the hare, it actively blocks the very behaviors that keep it alive. In recent decades, another change has begun to reshape this balance. Climate shifts are altering the timing and duration of Arctic seasons. Snow melts earlier in spring, and the white landscape that once lasted deep into the year retreats, exposing darker ground sooner than before. For an animal whose camouflage is finely tuned to seasonal cycles, this change carries serious consequences. The Arctic hare's coat still turns white in winter, guided by daylight patterns that have shaped its biology for generations. But when snow cover disappears too soon, that white fur becomes a liability. Against dark soil and rock, the hare stands out sharply, visible from far greater distances. Predators, in turn, gain an advantage. Foxes, wolves, and birds of prey can spot hares more easily, reducing the effectiveness of the camouflage that once gave them critical seconds to escape. Studies have shown that mismatches between coat color and background can significantly increase predation risk. In this way, the Arctic hare faces a new kind of enemy, not one that chases or stalks, but one that shifts the rules of the game itself. The greatest threat may not be any single predator, but the speed at which the environment is changing. Evolution works across generations, slowly adjusting bodies and behaviors to match conditions. But when the climate changes faster than species can adapt, even well-honed survival strategies begin to fail. For the Arctic hare, the battlefield is no longer just snow and ice. It is time itself, moving at a pace biology struggles to follow. At first glance, the Arctic hare does not look like a symbol of power. It is not large, not fearsome, not armed with claws or fangs that command respect. It does not dominate territory, overthrow rivals, or leave monuments carved into the land. It builds no cities, writes no history, and claims no title of ruler. Yet year after year, generation after generation, it continues to survive in one of the most extreme environments on Earth. And in doing so, it demonstrates something many humans, for all our technology and ambition, often forget. Survival does not come from power alone. It comes from the ability to adapt when the world changes. The Arctic hare has no control over its environment. It cannot stop the wind, warm the air, or make food grow. Instead, it changes itself. Its body, behavior, and life cycle are all shaped by the conditions around it. When the land is white, it becomes white. When food is scarce, it learns to live on less. When danger appears, it runs. Its empire is not built of stone, steel, or concrete. It is built from endurance, quiet, consistent, and largely unseen. Humans build empires outward. We expand borders, construct skylines, and measure success in growth and control. Our conflicts often arise from the desire for more land, more resources, more influence. The Arctic hare fights a different kind of battle. It does not struggle to rule more territory. It struggles simply to see another sunrise. Every day is a negotiation with cold, hunger, and risk. Its victories are small but absolute. One more day alive, one more season endured, one more generation born into the cycle. There is a lesson in that kind of existence. Adaptation is not dramatic. It does not look heroic or grand. It happens quietly, over time, through countless small adjustments. But it is one of the most powerful forces in nature. If you're finding this perspective interesting, consider subscribing to the channel. There are many more stories from the natural world that reveal how life persists against the odds, often in ways that challenge how we think about strength and success. Sometimes, the smallest creature in a snowstorm carries the largest message. Civilization often measures progress by what we build. Nature measures success by what continues. The Arctic hare reminds us that endurance, flexibility, and harmony with the environment can matter more than dominance. So when we look at this small animal crossing an endless white landscape, are we seeing something insignificant or a model of survival we might one day need to understand better?